I don't know. Yes. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. What a great crowd. We were a little nervous because it's, Cinco de Mayo, and I know everybody's missing their tacos. So appreciate you taking the time and coming tonight to meet our candidates. What I'm going to do to start this out is, first of all, I want to thank the town for allowing us to use their facilities. This is a chamber event, not a town event, but they were gracious enough to let us use this space so that we could fit more people than our little space that we usually use, as well as the technology. So this is being broadcast out on Facebook and YouTube so that those who could not attend will have the opportunity to hear the candidates as well. I also want to thank the Chamber committee members who helped put this together. This was a really big challenge for us. We haven't done this in a long time, and we really wanted to make sure that we were able to put something together that was positive and fair for all the candidates. Also to the members of the Chamber of Commerce, because the questions that you'll hear tonight were all put forth by the Chamber members. So this was closed to only Chamber members to create this question and answer forum, but I think that you'll find that most of the questions are the ones that are out there that you've wanted to hear the answers to as well. So thank you again so much for attending. Thank you to the Chamber and thank you to the town, and more importantly, thank you to our candidates. You'll see that we're missing a couple of candidates tonight. They had engagements already planned for this evening, so they weren't able to attend. Both of them are out of town. But we do have here with us Tabor Heisler, Derek Cavey, and Harry Turner. Derek is running for City Council, and of course Tabor and Harry are running for the mayoral seat. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for attending. I'm not going to talk about them because we're going to give them an opportunity to talk about themselves. They'll have a 5-minute opening statement. Before I do, I want to share with you the rules that the candidates were all sent in advance, and I'm just going to read it directly as they got it so that you understand exactly what they got in advance. The purpose of the forum. The Pinetop-Lakeside Chamber of Commerce is hosting a town council candidate Q&A forum to provide residents with the opportunity to hear directly from candidates in a structured, neutral, and respectful setting. The goal of this forum is to encourage informed voter participation, provide equal access for candidates to share their perspectives, and promote open dialogue on issues important to the community. The Chamber does not endorse any candidate and remains strictly neutral in all election-related activities. A little overview of what we're going to do. We have 5-minute opening statements. There will be 10 questions asked of every single candidate. They will be the same questions. They have 2 minutes to respond, and then there'll be a 5-minute closing statement, an opportunity for them to speak again. Eligibility was open to any candidates that were officially filed with Town Council, and the participation is voluntary. However, all participants did have to agree to these procedures in advance. Moderator and event staff. Our moderator is going to be Michael Bosley. He's a neutral third party selected by the Chamber responsible for asking all questions, enforcing time limits, maintaining order, and ensuring fairness. Our timekeeper, Lisa, who is works here in the town, she'll be making sure that the time clock is set. She will also, at the 30-second mark, during the 2-minute question, she'll hold up a thing to give them a little advance warning. You can see it over there that they have 30 seconds left in their speaking time. So they'll get clear signals. And then there's me. I'm responsible for opening and closing remarks and reviewing the guidelines. I'm sorry, by the way, my name is Karen Rubin. And I am the interim president of the Chamber of Commerce. Question submission and selection process. As I stated before, all these questions were submitted in advance by Chamber members. All questions were screened to ensure relevance, remove any duplicates, and eliminate inappropriate or targeted content. Questions will reflect a broad range of community interest. Candidates did not receive these questions in advance. Again, they'll have 5 minutes. Speaking order was determined by a random draw, and in this case, Harry's going to make the opening statements. And then we will closing statements will end with Tabor. Question and answer segments, again, 2 minutes, and the order is going to rotate. So we're going to start. Harry will answer the first question first, and then we're just going to go down the aisle. The next question, Derek will answer first, and then Tabor, and then Harry, and so on and so forth as we get through the 10 questions. Candidates are expected to adhere to time limits. Visual and verbal cues are provided, including the 30-second warning and time expiration notification. The moderator will intervene if necessary. Candidates' conduct expectations. Candidates have agreed to address responses through the moderator, focus on issues and qualifications, refrain from personal attacks, and maintain professionalism. Failure to comply may result in a warning or a loss of speaking time. I'd like to extend this a little bit and to include any negative comments regarding the town staff. Let's keep this strictly to what we want to do in the future and leave any comments regarding the existing town staff out of it altogether, and let's keep it positive. Audience guidelines. Attendees must remain respectful and avoid disruptions. Applause is permitted but should remain brief. The chamber reserves the right to remove individuals who do not comply. So to that end, what we're saying is that these are predetermined questions and answers. There is no audience interjections or questions that will be allowed during this forum. Candidates were not allowed to disperse any campaign materials inside this venue. As stated, it is being recorded and shared publicly. Recordings will not be edited in a way that alters the substance of responses. The chamber reserves the right to make adjustments for candidate absences, and so we did so. We adjusted how many questions we could answer based on that timeline. If we had more candidates, we would have less questions. So the agenda will again go to 5 minutes, opening about 20 minutes of that will be opening statements. Questions and answers be 40 to 60 minutes, closing statements about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll make some closing remarks. It says 5 minutes, I don't think it'll be 5. Are there any questions? Okay. I'm going to give it over to Mike Bosley, and he's going to get us started.
Good evening, gentlemen. So, to start your opening statement, Mr. Turner, would you care to start your opening 5-minute statement, please?
Of course. Thank you all for being here. This is more people than I expected to see, and I'm glad that there's interest amongst our community to have this kind of a turnout. Like all the candidates up here, I have priorities. They're going to be on my website, which is launching in about 20 minutes. I have several campaign managers or people that claim to be my campaign manager, and I was told by one of them to read the room. And I recognize a lot of faces, so I'm not going to go into my background. I'm just going to jump into what I think the state of our town is right now. There was a survey a couple of years ago. The town ran a survey with citizens, and one of the strengths back then was how well the leaders of our town were trusted and respected and how well we got along. In the last 12 months, I think we've taken a few steps backwards. We've had some issues that were discussed in executive session and weren't clear to everyone when we came out of executive session. And one of the things I think we need to do, one of the two most important things we need to do, is try to reestablish that trust in the leaders of this town. And first thing I'd like to say about that is transparency. Every candidate for decades have stated in their campaign stuff, I'm going to be transparent, period. Goes on a postcard, gets mailed to everyone, goes on their website or whatever. But as I think about transparency, how can we be considered to be transparent when we have all the important discussions in the back room behind closed doors? If I were to be elected mayor, I want to do away with all executive sessions. I want them to go away completely. I've been voting against going back there. If you were to look at some of the tapes of the town council meetings, I was a town councilman. I voted against them more than anyone else. I wanted to stay out here and talk to you guys and let you guys know what we were thinking and how we came to our train of thought. In the last 2 years, I've been going into those executive sessions behind these closed doors, and I haven't heard anything back there that couldn't have been discussed out here. And then when we come back out here to take a vote, the perception is everything was handled back there and decided back there. If we're going to be transparent, every conversation needs to be up here on the dais, right in front of you. And then you can know how people think that you're voting for. Looking at the clock there, I've got 2 minutes to wrap this up. I like for the leadership of this town to be more inclusive. This has been dismissed in the past. It's been avoided in the past. And leaders in this town have run away from asking you how you think and what your opinion is. Again, if we're going to regain your trust, we got to talk with you. We got to get your opinions, and we have to consider them when we're making decisions in this town. One of my pet peeves is communication. We have employees that work really hard to send out notifications and invite you all to events like this tonight. And we need to work out a different process. I don't want to tell you how many times I've been to an event, I'm talking to my friends the next day, and they said, I didn't even know that was going on. I think we need to have a new process, a new system for doing that. I heard some suggestions as I was waiting for the 6 o'clock meeting to start here, and there's applications that other towns are using. 30 seconds. There's other ways we can notify people of what's going on. And it's not just the town. The chamber could use a little help there too. I was at a April 7th wildfire preparedness meeting, and there were 20 people in the room, and half of them were board members on the chamber. So we all, as a community, need to figure out a better way to let each other know what's going on. Thank you.
As annoying as that buzzer was, I would like to remind everybody, if you do have cell phones this evening and you are here in the audience, to please put them onto the silent mode as we continue on with the forum. Mr. Cavey, would you care to do your 5-minute opening speech?
Yes, I don't think I'm going to take up 5 minutes. My family and I, my parents moved me up here in '97. I feel that this town is a special place. I chose to move my family up here 13 years ago. A lot of people see in the stores older retired people. But this community does have kids and growing kids. And this place is a place for families as well as retirees. I myself work at the Veterans Affairs in Sholo. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 13 years. I got my MBA a year and a half ago. I've worked as a Little League president. I've coached as a wrestling coach. I've been a umpire and referee of high school sports for the last 8 years. Kind of hoping to get an assignment to ump a game today so I wouldn't be nervous to be here. But that didn't happen. I have games next week. That being said, 4 years ago, I saw a lot of stuff that was going on in the town, and I chose to take the high road and stay positive. Seek out the good things that the town is doing. Sure, we could highlight some bad things, and they're fun to talk about. And they spend time, we can spend time talking about all that stuff. But I, as a father and a husband and a working person who works a full-time job, I believe that I should have a voice at the table. I don't believe that everyone's going to agree with what I have to say, but what I believe is that my voice and people like me should be represented. Too often we just discuss things that matter to retired people or people that have more time. I'm choosing my time wisely to be at these meetings. I can't be there midday to see what's going on. I have a job, and there's plenty of people in this town that have jobs and work, but their voices matter too. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for Pinetop-Lakeside for putting this on, the good people of the town of Pinetop-Lakeside for broadcasting it or using their technology and being here. I see a lot of employees here. I think that, I got a minute, good, got 2 minutes. I think that we're rebuilding the town. There's people that have left for whatever reason. We could get into that, but we're not going to. But the people that come here to work, they need to be treated fairly because they're the town's biggest asset. They truly are. They represent our community and represent the town as a whole. So I hope to be transparent, honest, share my opinion even if you don't agree with me. I still can respect people that disagree with me, and that's the beauty of the country we live in and the community we live in. So I know unless there's someone that registers as a write-in on the 22nd, I know that I'll get enough votes to be on the town council. But I do think the town deserves me to show up here today so you guys can understand who I am and what I represent. So thank you, sir.
Thank you for that. We appreciate that. All right, Mr. Heisler, would you care for your opening statement, please?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. In a small town like Pinetop-Lakeside, showing up means something. It means you care about your neighbors, your community, and the future we're all building together. My name is Tabor Heisler, and I am running for mayor. I've had the honor of serving on the town council, and during that time, I've had the opportunity to sit across from so many of you at meetings, at events, and in everyday conversations, and hear what matters most to you. Not just the big issues, but the real day-to-day concerns that shape how we live our lives here. Outside of council, I serve as the Assistant Chief of Operations for Timber Mesa Fire and Medical District. My wife and I also own a small business, Rim Outdoor Solutions. I've lived in this community for 19 years. I'm still not exactly sure when you officially get to call yourself a local, but I'm hoping I'm getting close. My wife, on the other hand, was born and raised here. Between public service and running a small business, raising a family, and now watching our older kids try to build their lives here, I understand firsthand how hard it can be to make a life in this town and how important it is that we get it right. And that perspective shapes every decision I make. Like many of you, I've spent time thinking about the people who came before us, the ones who built this community, who invested in it, and who left something behind for us to carry forward. We didn't start this town, but we are responsible for where it goes next. That's why I'm running for mayor. Not because everything is broken, but because I believe we can do better. Better at planning for the future instead of reacting in the moment. Better at managing our budget so that we create stability instead of uncertainty. And better at supporting the people who show up every day to serve this town. And maybe most importantly, better at staying connected to this community. I believe leadership starts with being present, taking the time to understand people's concerns, hearing different perspectives, and working through challenges together, even when it's uncomfortable. Since starting this campaign, I've spent time walking our neighborhoods, knocking on doors, and having real conversations with people. No agenda, no time limits, just listening. I haven't made it to every door yet, but I'm not done. Because if I'm asking to represent this community, then I believe I have the responsibility to truly understand it. And that's something I'll continue to do, not just during the campaign, but if given the opportunity as the mayor. Because real progress isn't easy. It takes honesty, it takes accountability, and it takes people willing to put the community ahead of themselves. I believe we can run this town like a professional organization within our means while still delivering the core services residents depend on. I believe we can support our staff with the tools, equipment, and leadership they need to succeed. And I believe we can rebuild trust, not through promises, but through consistent, steady action over time. At the end of the day, this isn't about politics. It's about responsibility, it's about stewardship, and it's about making sure that what we leave behind is stronger than what we were given. Thank you.
All right, so now, gentlemen, we will be heading into our questions. And as previously stated, each candidate, after being asked the question, will have 2 minutes to respond. We will still have the same beautiful Vanna White with a 30-second card. And then, of course, you will have the fun buzzer, and I will interrupt. But as we did the drawing before we started, gentlemen, Mr. Turner, you will be starting off with your first response to the first question, and we will rotate through the candidates throughout. Once again, I would remind the candidates to please try and speak forward into the microphone, as in we are streaming this, and that hopefully there's more than just what's in this chamber that is actually listening to what's going on this evening. So, Mr. Turner, how do you define the town's identity? And what do you want people to think of when they hear Pinetop-Lakeside?
When I hear that question, I think about, I've lived here for 7 years. I lived in the valley with my wife, Elizabeth, back there for 19 years before that. We would come up here on vacation. And when I hear that question, I think about what I thought about this town when I came up here on vacation and what helped us decide that we were going to live here. This is the second small town that I've lived in, and I love trees. I love walking into Mike's Coffee Shop or Pinetop Bakery, and they say, "Hi, Harry." And in the case of Mike, sometimes I get a hug. You don't get that. I lived in Chicago. I lived in Detroit. That didn't happen there. And it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel good when we have visitors up here. So I want people who are tourists to think this is a great place to recreate, possibly live here. It's just the small town atmosphere that people really need to present to our visitors when they get up here. Now, in the case of businesses, I think we have a little bit of work to do there. I like for businesses to think that we're an easy government to work with. And we've got some work to do there. And I've been on the Planning and Zoning Commission, I've been on the Town Council, and I hope I can continue that work as your mayor.
All right, well, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Cave, the same question. How do you define the town's identity, and what do you want people to think of when they hear Pinetop-Lakeside?
Well, I wish we could be a place of more snow, but hopefully next year, right? We are a small town. We're never going to get away from tourism. Tourism is a big resource for us. We shouldn't hide from it. That being said, we have to have people who live here, that can afford to live here, to work in the things that take care of the tourist and serve the reservation and serve the schools and stuff like that. So we're a small town. I love honking my horn when I see my friends. It's just, this is a special place to me. And a business, this is a great place. It's a very great place. And we just got to be ready for it. It's going to grow. But we have some challenges that we need to take care of with that growth. So, and we're very limited on growth because we're only so big geographically. So we're not going to see big towers up here. So, but we are going to grow. So that's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Eisler, how do you define the town's identity, and what do you want people to think of when they hear Pinetop-Lakeside?
I guess I would start off by saying that I don't really know that I've heard in the community that we really have established an identity as a core group of residents that really live in this town. I think of celebrate the seasons, and I think as we celebrate the seasons, we've talked about the fall colors and the fall festival and our snow in the wintertime and our beautiful weather in the summertime. But I think when my friends brought me up here 19 years ago and I decided to move and live where people try to retire, what I think of is the friendly atmosphere of this community and the way that people really show up when it matters most for their neighbors, for their friends, and quite frankly, for strangers. As I stated, I've done quite a bit of walking around neighborhoods and knocking on doors, and one of the things I think that's so special is people aren't rude to me when I walk up and knock on their door. They genuinely are interested in what's going on, and I've been into a number of people's homes and sat on their couch, and I really think that's what makes this place special and what I want people to think of when they think of Pinetop-Lakeside, because when we take care of our core residents, the people that live here year-round, and we're providing the services that those people need, then they are friendly to the visitors that come here, and they will want to return and spend money because we are taking that money and investing it wisely within our community and providing the services to the residents that live here year-round. And so I guess the short answer to that question is what I want people to think of when they think of Pinetop-Lakeside is the friendly mountain town that we are.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, since it is a friendly mountain town, then I get to call you guys by your first names for the rest of the night. So, Derek, here's your second question. Or, here we go. What is your vision for economic development in the town over the next 3 to 5 years, including how would you attract visitors to stay, spend, and return?
I do really think that the town's social media has been a lot better promoting the area. I still continue to praise them and push them to continue to do the great job they're doing. I would like to see in the town a central area where we can congregate. Example, the Deuce down there, there's an area where we can have events. I know we have Mountain Meadows and stuff, but there's no like Main Street here in town. I know there's been talk of some kind of development over by Navapache or a park, something like that. That would be interesting. I think one of the key things is planning and zoning and really setting the boundaries of what we want in the town so that people know what we expect as we grow. Instead of being proactive or reactive, instead of being proactive. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, thank you. And Tabor, same question. What is your vision for economic development in the town over the next 3 to 5 years, including how would you attract visitors to stay, spend, and return?
So I would first disclose to everybody that by no means do I think I'm an economic development expert, but what I do think is that there are amazing people within our community, and some of the leaders even here in the Chamber of Commerce, members of the Chamber of Commerce, people within our community that they run small businesses every day, they have great ideas, they're working in their circles to create economic development opportunities. And so when I think of the town's role in economic development, it's to get those people, get them together, get them on a group or a committee that can move the town forward with economic development, because they're the ones running the business and they're the ones running the businesses in this town, and they're the ones that are going to have the great ideas and know what the businesses need to succeed. And so I don't think that the council or myself as a mayor is in a great position to make those kind of decisions, but what I do think is I'm in a great position to help support those groups and committees and those businesses where they need to succeed. So I think the first step in economic development is talking to the business owners and seeing where they need the help and the support. And then over the next 3 to 5 years, I think that comes down to municipal planning. I mean, we need to have the community more engaged and involved, and we need to start thinking about where this town's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And when we think about that, how are we developing the Main Street? How are we developing core areas within our town so that maybe we end up with a walking district? And maybe we end up with different areas throughout town that support those local businesses together.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And almost following up that question, and Tabor, you will be the first one to answer this time. What is your approach to balancing business? I'm sorry. It's a small town. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody with the tip.
Harry.
Now I'm shocked and forgot what I was going to say.
No, Harry,
I went on the question
I was so
3.
excited because I want to hear everybody's answer about this next one. But sorry. What is your vision for economic development in the town over the next 3 to 5 years, including how would you attract visitors to stay, spend, and yes, return?
Well, first of all, I want your voice.
Yes, sir.
So, to get to the question here, Tabor hit it on the head there. The business owners in this room know more about the things that we ought to be doing than we do. I'm a member of this chamber. I also attend the Sholo Chamber meetings also. And comparing the two, I think we could leverage this chamber more than we have in the past. And I don't mean to be critical or anything. Like I said, I just compare. And I think there's more that we can get from you on how to move ourselves forward as far as economic development and how to get people to come back. Just as simple as I spent a lot of time in the drive-thru at McDonald's. Whether it's here or Sholo, when I drive through, you get a smile, you get a have a nice day, be careful out there. The business owners could take a lesson from that if you're not doing it already. I can't say I've been in every business, but I tried to get there in the last 7 years. And it's a projection of our community, our small town, that is friendly, inviting, and come back. We love having you here. But I still like to, if I were to be elected mayor, leverage the business owners in this room a little bit better than we have in the past, and let you have a stronger voice and give suggestions to the council, to the mayor, that I haven't heard yet. And I know you all have opinions, but I'd like to figure out a way with the chamber board to figure out how to get you to open up and give us ideas and tell us what you want. Thank you.
Wonderful timing, sir. All right. My sincere apologies, Harry.
I'm glad I don't have a hearing aid.
Continuing on with our third question, and hopefully that was my last screw-up of the evening. Tabor, what is your approach to balancing business-friendly policies with maintaining the character of this community?
I think when you talk about business-friendly policies and the character of the community, what it really comes down to is municipal planning. And what I mean by that is what I've seen, and I've taken part in it, is that something comes to town and all of a sudden we're scrambling to try to change to allow that business to fit. Or we're trying to change to maybe not allow that business to fit. And what has really been missing from that is the conversations with the communities, with the businesses, to really set out a plan for this town. And what I mean by that is we have a map of what the future of this town is supposed to look like. We have zoning ordinances, we have town code, and every bit of that should be shaping the community. And so when we talk about business friendly, a lot of times the business owner just wants to know what do they need to do, and then how the town needs to know how they need to support them. And so when they look at that piece of property and they're thinking about opening that business, if we've outlined exactly what we want for the character of our town, then the business can meet those metrics. But continually changing the goalposts on business owners is a tough world to live in. And then defining what the character of the community is with the community members, putting that into the plan for the town moving forward, and then making a conscious effort to outline our town code and our zoning ordinances so that when somebody comes in here to town, they're not asking us to change the zoning, right? We can look right back at them and say, here's where that business goes within our town, here's where we can commit to you, you can go, and it makes things a lot easier all the way around.
Wonderful, thank you, sir. Harry, your same question. What is your approach to balancing business-friendly policies with maintaining the character of the community?
Well, again, I spent a couple of years on planning and zoning and a couple of years on the council here. When planning and zoning gets a proposal, this is going to fall back into my earlier opening statement. We're not as inclusive as we could be or should be. We're not leveraging groups that are out there, a People's Voice group, for instance. There used to be opportunities for citizens to work on committees and give advice, give opinions to the town, and that went away about 5 years ago, maybe 6. I don't know why we can't be more inclusive, get some people who are interested, and there's 40 of you here right now, and when something comes in, we know if there's going to be controversy over it, and we're trying to balance things with being a business-friendly town and all that, but we're not asking our citizens what their opinions are. And there are things that you really could have helped us with. And we didn't come to ask you, and that's our fault. And we got to do better. We need your help.
Thank you very much, sir. Derek, same question to you, sir.
Simple. Community involvement for input. Clear expectations of what is expected of a business, and then move forward. So you got people that are happy with what's going on. Business owners know what they need to do. We're not bringing a business in and they're horse trading with us to establish some kind of zoning law or rule, or it's established, the goalpost is there, this is what we are, the community has approved it or put their input put in. That's just simple, very simple.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our fourth question, and Harry, this one's with you, sir. Workforce availability, affordable housing, and childcare were consistently identified as challenges for our local businesses. What role should the town play in addressing these particular issues?
We are short of talented people to be in our workforce. And there's lots of reasons why. I think the most important thing that we need to be working on is attainable housing. Tabor and I were at an event over the weekend where there was a teacherage's community built. And it's a beautiful community. It's near Charlie Clark's across the street from there. And it took the Sick Grace School District and a bunch of volunteers. I don't see Mr. Hepner's wife in the room here, but she went above and beyond the call of duty, getting grants and working with developers and getting these containers and really pulling it all together. It took about a year to get 8 of these attainable housing units put together. I think that's the most important thing that we could work on. And we, the town, the mayor, the council, we're not going to do it, but we need to get the people together that can do it. The volunteers like Mrs. Hefner and grant writers that we have on staff and that we can hire. And looking at the land that's available with the Planning and Zoning Commission and just really putting a plan together. I'd like to see the Planning and Zoning Commission take the lead on this and have some work sessions, work with some organizations that have been successful, like the teacherages, and help us put a plan together.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Derek, the question is now to you. Workforce availability, affordable housing, and childcare were consistently identified as challenges for our local businesses. What role should the town play in addressing these issues?
Of course, it's a zoning issue, right? Also, those buildings up by Charlie Clark, probably a drop in the bucket of what actually needs to happen. I mean, it's a good token thing to do, and it's great that it was done. I do feel that there needs to be some apartments, and with that comes everybody coming to the zoning meeting saying, we don't want apartments, we don't want that kind of people here. But you got to have people live close to where they work. And so if that doesn't happen, things can cost more. So I think the town has a responsibility to educate people when there does present an issue where we need apartments. Not subsidized housing, because we know that subsidized housing, it's hard to get into. There may not be. It's hard to find apartments here on the mountain that aren't subsidized, and then your workers live in Snowflake or Show Low, and so we need to have apartments here. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have areas that we probably could put them in, and there's probably developers out there that would put them up. So we need to be more open to that. Of course, not everybody going to have apartments, but not 8 buildings that is just going to be for 8 families. That doesn't solve the problem. It's a good gesture, but it's not the fix. Zoning and promoting apartments in real good areas would be good, in educating the public that we need apartments here. So.
All right, thank you. And Tabor, same question. Want me to repeat it?
You don't have to, but I mean, I love listening to you read the question.
Afraid my voice is putting them to sleep. Workforce availability, affordable housing, and childcare were consistently identified as challenges for our local businesses. What role should the town play in addressing these issues?
So I guess I'll start off first by saying I've seen this firsthand. I've seen our organization, and I mean my full-time job, hire a new firefighter starting off on the job, and I think they get paid a pretty reasonable wage, and then try to move here into the community, and they couldn't afford it, and therefore we lost that employee. And so I think that we have to have places that are available for our workforce. And then we have to have means to support those people, because one of the things that our community thrives on, and we've discussed already, is having the tourism and having the visitors. And a lot of folks like to retire here, but when the young folks aren't here to be able to support the retirees, then the community starts to be less appealing, because if you don't have medical care, if you don't have the doctors, if you don't have the guys to staff the ambulances, if you don't have the police officers to keep the community safe, then the community starts to falter and it starts to lose its appeal. And so I think that's an important issue and something that I'm uniquely familiar with my family, but the role that the town should play in addressing these issues really is, like I already discussed, it's municipal planning. It's making sure that we have the areas that are able to be developed, that we have all the plans in place that we need to have those areas and work with the developers. And then it really comes down to building the partnerships and the relationships with, like Harry mentioned, Allison Hefner, who's done a phenomenal job getting those teacherages houses put in. And then looking for the opportunities within our communities to tie those community partners together and advance forward with the opportunities that each one of them can bring to the table with funding or development or NPC's construction department, and trying to keep the costs on those homes low but still make them nice so that they fit within our community. And when the people that work here live here, it builds a stronger community.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir. Now we're on to our 5th question, almost halfway there, gentlemen. Derek, this one we'll start off with you, sir. How do you evaluate and prioritize major long-term investments such as infrastructures, parks, specifically the Woodland Lake Park expansion, or potential utility decisions?
That's a can of worms. I've always said Woodland Park is the gem of the White Mountains. It's not really looking like a gem right now. There's multiple reasons why that is. It's important to keep Woodland Park, and the area around it, Woodland Park and the recreational area. A lot of problems we face in this area. There's 7 different water companies, right? And water pressure is an issue. That goes back to zoning. So there's challenges there. So we have to fix that. Town may not be able to fix that, but that is one of the challenges that we face. Woodland should stay woodland. Rainbow Lake's another issue. That's another can of worms. But I think that possible utility decisions, I don't know about that. I'd approach that with a sense of study and understanding what's going on, and reach out to people who would give me input on that. So I don't know. There you go.
Tabor, same question to you.
So I think that when you think about prioritization of long-term investments in infrastructure specifically, I think you have to really understand what's impacting the community. And so as I've been walking around talking to the community members, one of the things that I've heard probably more than anything else is, what are we doing with our downtown? We see the businesses there, and some businesses are thriving, and other buildings stay vacant for years at a time. Well, I think that it's important we understand what we're imposing and what we need to keep up with. For example, the International Building Code or the International Fire Code. And if the code is dictating that a business must have, let's say, 1,000 gallons per minute of fire flow at their business in order to be able to remodel and reopen and revitalize that area, and our water infrastructure only produces 650 gallons a minute, well, it sounds like we need to prioritize our water infrastructure for improvement so that we can assist the businesses to revitalize the town. You specifically mentioned Woodland Lake Park. And again, I think about thinking about the future of our town. 500 acres of parkland in a town with a $10 million budget. How do we afford that long term? What happens when a fire breaks out in Woodland Lake Park? Can the town afford to replace the structures that maybe are affected as part of that fire? And so I think we really have to be cautious and thoughtful about the decisions we're making for the future, and that we really are looking at these projects, because if we have good business in the community and we have people coming here and visiting the community, we have better revenue. That allows us to take on more infrastructure projects, like repairing the dam at Woodland Lake Park, for example. But if we don't have good business development, then we don't have the revenue, and the cycle doesn't complete itself. And so I think it's very important to really take a long, hard look at our infrastructures and how we prioritize that infrastructure improvement. And I think, to Derek's point, you got to really look at the utilities. The town doesn't own a lot of them, so we may have to partner and build relationships and help them succeed so that we can succeed.
All right, thank you very much. And Harry, question to you, sir.
I looked ahead on the questions. We were given these when we sat down here, not before today or anything like that. I got to take this opportunity to think about the biggest problem we have in our town, the water level in Woodland Lake. I had a citizen who knows a lot about the water system here. Our irrigation company is the Sholo Pinetop Woodland Irrigation Company. And I had a citizen take me by the hand up to the Forest Service where the springs are. And we followed the ditch, the culverts, the pipes, all the way down to Woodland Lake. There's a lot of opportunity there for evaporation and pilfering and things like that. But what I want to touch on is another citizen did a public records request, and in January of this year, our agreement, our contract with the irrigation company expired. Who knew? I'm on the council. I never knew that until I was presented with this information from this public records request. We never talked about it in council. It's never been publicly said. This might be the first time some of you folks are even hearing this. So I've been going to the Save Our Park meetings for a long time now, and the president of the Save Our Parks organization asked me to be the leader of what's been called the Woodland Lake Committee. And with that responsibility, I walked the dam and looked at the things that were needed over there, and I called the irrigation company. And what's got to happen is they have a side of the story, the town's got a side of the story on why they don't want to have a contract with them. I like to be the person to pull this all together.
Thank you very much. Our sixth question of the evening will be starting with you, Tabor. Residents have expressed concerns about speeding and visibility of law enforcement. What is your approach to traffic safety and police presence, particularly along major corridors like White Mountain Boulevard?
Well, I would start off by saying that while I've worked in public safety most of my adult life and worked right alongside our law enforcement officers, I didn't really understand what their job was. And so I took the opportunity to go to the police department, and I went on 2 12-hour ride-alongs with our police officers. And I can tell you that it was very enlightening for me to see all of the things that a police officer today has to do, and then to reflect on the fact that the Pinetop-Lakeside Police Department has the same number of sworn positions it had when we incorporated in the early 1980s. We haven't added a single sworn position. And so I agree with the community that we need more police officers, and we need more police officers that are able to be out on the street. But this comes back to what we had just talked about, and that is you've got to have the money in order to be able to hire the police officers and put more police officers on the street. I know that we've had some sidebar fun conversations, the commander and myself, about he was a previous motors officer, and I think it would be great if the Pinetop-Lakeside Police Department had a motorcycle in its fleet, because I know personally I slow down because those things are really hard to see. But aside from that, I mean, there's traffic calming measures, there's radar detectors, there's different things that we could do as a town, but ultimately the funding doesn't exist to do that. And so I do think there is an opportunity to maybe look at some of the town's revenue that we are currently taking in, not raising taxes, but currently taking in, and maybe reinvesting that money into our police department to get more police officers on the street so that they can focus on traffic within this community. And I do think it is a vital importance to be able to see our police department grow, because they have a tremendous workload without adding any positions in all those years.
Thank you very much. Harry, same question to you, sir.
I think the police chief, the commander, and every one of the officers that I've met in my travels know my fondness for the police department. I too don't think we have enough officers, but I think there's a need for at least one more to help us patrol 260 specifically. I know there's speeding going on in other areas, but we got to slow down 260. Seems like at least one person gets killed every year. It's not publicized, but it's happening, and it's because of the speed. And we gotta figure out a way to make that go away. Now, I like to work with the police department or through the town manager to figure out how we can get more patrols out there. Now, revenue is an issue, being able to pay for it, but then we spend money to buy the 2 acres next door here. There's $340,000 there we didn't need to spend. And 2 months after we bought it, our budget was over $1 million overspent. We brought that back under control. It's underspent now. But when we put this fiscal responsibility on our postcards and our websites, we gotta walk the walk. We can't be making frivolous decisions like that.
Pardon?
That's much better.
You still actually have a couple moments if you would like to finish your sentence, sir.
Well, there's no plan for that land. It's a good investment, is what I was told. I was the only person on the council that voted against it because it was a good investment. That's not the right use of your tax dollars.
Thank you very much. And Derek?
All right, I don't pretend to know how police are paid or how that works. But I do know that revenue drives, pay brings people here. I think that we do need more police officers. It is fast, but we need business to get the revenue to then pay the police. And I don't think there's any more difficult than that. We all want to support the police, but we don't want business, or we don't want this business or that business. That's hard for me to digest. So I think we need to be pro-business so that we can be pro-support the officers, police officers. And that's what I believe.
All right. And let's see. Okay, so the seventh question. Am I correct? Am I good? I feel like I missed something. All right. This one is to you, Harry. What role should the town play in environmental stewardship, including forest health and preservation of natural resources?
You heard me talk about the lack of water at Woodland Lake. You heard other folks on the dais here talk about water pressure. There's a tank on top of Springer Mountain that's filled by tanker trucks to give water pressure to certain businesses and a fire department that's located on 260. The town has a 1 million gallon tank that was just built adjacent to the nature center. Those two opportunities there, those two areas are going to help us with the water, but it's not going to help us get water into Woodland Lake. We're all very conscious, and we try to be prepared and avoid forest destruction through fire, and educating our tourists when they come up here. And when we see a truck with a trailer dragging a chain, we try to flag them down, or at least get the attention of the police to say, hey, there's going to be a spark there, it's going to cause a problem. It's a community effort as far as that type of prevention goes. But the biggest problem here is we got to work together with the Show Low Pinetop Woodland Irrigation Company and get water in that lake. Until that happens, all these other things are very unimportant. That's a key critical piece of our town here. It draws people here. It gives us opportunity to recreate around it. Most folks here that live near there are hikers that go around it, and they're appalled.
Thank you for that response, sir. Derek, to you.
I think the town's been a good example of this. I mean, you look at Woodland Lake Park, it's thinned. The area over there is thinned. I think that education and promotion of Timber Mason has been really good at promoting cleaning your yards. The station, Public Works, collects green waste. I 100% support that. I think that's good. They've had a great deal with the people over by the elementary school. Who knows what they do with it, but you know, we're getting rid of green waste. I think maybe more of a job of promoting that free green waste for this next month. I mean, that's a great program. So the town is doing things by example. I'm sure there's a lot more that we can as a town can do. I'm sure there's grants and everything out there to, I think Pinetop Fire cleans lots or something like that, or cuts down trees. I don't know the details of that, but I've heard that works. But promoting that as well. But unfortunately, we are a town inside of an area. So we're the town of Pinetop-Lakeside in the area of Pinetop-Lakeside. So how much responsibility do we have over the area? We can only be an example, and I think what we're doing now is a good example. Of course, there can be things that we can do better, but we're doing great.
All right, thank you very much. And Tabor.
So when I think about the town's role in environmental stewardship, what I really think about is looking for those innovative programs, advocating with our partners, because a lot of those forest health initiatives and programs like that come from the state and the federal government, and they're willing to fund them. And so when I think about environmental stewardship, and one of the worst ways up here that would devastate this community is, as all of us know, is a wildfire. It pollutes the water, it kills the forest, it ruins the habitat we live in. And so I think that looking at those programs like Novo Biopower, which I think is a phenomenal opportunity for us to really take care of our forest, and then send that material in wood chips and pine needles over there to generate power, and that we start to look at partnerships to advocate for more of that type of, more reactors here in the community that can burn that biomass, that can generate power for our community, that bring jobs here to the community. And so what I believe the town's role is in that process is to continually advocate and build partnerships with the state and federal government. And then aside from that, I think the other thing that we really need to do just to protect ourselves is really advocate with the state to get the insurance services within our community on the same page. And what I mean by that is we're kind of all over the place now with insurance companies and where their prices are going with our community members. And so I know that we're working with the insurance agents, the insurance regulatory agency down at the state, and I think it's just to help get us all on the same page when it comes to wildfire protecting our communities.
Thank you very much. So the next one is to you, Derek. How do you balance growth, tourism, and maintaining the town's small town character and quality of life?
It's a very similar question to one.
Yes.
I think we just promote via social media like we are doing a great job of. We continue to promote affordable housing for workforce. And we just make everyone special. We can't make it, but we create an environment where people feel welcomed here. We have good small businesses that are small town-esque, and we just promote those, and we help them grow and help them be strong. So that's what I would say. And then they have a good experience to come back. They go and spend their $1,000, $2,000 when they're here. So thank you.
Same question to you, Tabor.
So when I read this question, the first thing I think of is really defining terms. And I say that because there was mention earlier of the town survey. And one of the things that I said in the town survey was it said, how important is open space to you? And I checked very important. And then I met with a friend that was saying to me, open space is important. In their definition, they were talking about in the middle of the town. I was talking about living in the middle of the largest ponderosa pine forest in the world, right? And so I wasn't necessarily talking about open space in the middle of the town. And so I think we really need to define as a community, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, which is really diving into the future planning of this town. What does the word growth mean, and what is the tolerance of the full-time residents for growth? What does that mean? Does it mean revitalizing the town? Does it mean bringing in new business? Does it mean bringing in new homes and new residents? And so I think one of the most important things to realize, though, is that this is all of these things live together. You have a growth within the community that continues to bring tourism into our town, and that enables us to serve the residents and maintain our small town quality of life. And so we have to find a way for all of those things to balance together. And ultimately, it just is getting involved with the community and listening to the people about what growth really is, and then building a plan for the future of this town that meets that goal.
All right. Thank you very much. And Harry, your turn to, same question, right to you, sir.
Well, there are three items in that question. I'm going to pull out the tourism part first. Anyone who's driven in this town and tried to make a left turn between June and September, we're doing a great job promoting our area. It's the most beautiful town I've ever lived in, probably ever seen. Again, I love trees. People want to come here. People want to be here. Tourism is doing pretty good. But now with the balancing the growth and its small town atmosphere, we got problems there. I'm going to launch off of some of the things that Tabor said there, but I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. This is a challenge for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We need to challenge them to work on this and include the community. You heard me talk about inclusion in my 5-minute opening statement. The proposals that are coming through for developers and all that are not getting the proper scrutiny by our citizens. We're not getting input. I think a lot of the things that there have been disagreements on, we could probably have solved those if we had talked to community leaders, people with loud voices, organizations with loud voices, and gotten their opinion and massaged the proposals before they went to council. And I think we got a great opportunity with the Planning and Zoning Commission to get more out of them, to get them more involved with you guys, and to do a little bit better job with the proposals that come forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Tabor, this question is for you to start off with. Given the town's resilience on sales tax revenue, given the town's reliance on sales tax revenue, what is your approach to maintaining financial stability while supporting economic growth?
So, as you look at the town of Pinetop-Lakeside, I think we're really unique. And I've researched a lot of other cities and towns that have water and sewer and other utilities that they provide to their community, and that's really where they get their I guess financial stability out of the other services that they're offering to their residents, right? So if I control the water system and I'm still continuing to get water bills every month, that is continuous revenue into the town, and it definitely helps, I think, get you through some of those hard times. But I think most cities and towns in the state of Arizona are reliant on sales tax revenue more than anything else. And so I don't think that that we can diversify our revenue streams. And so what I think we need to really do is we need to look, we use a method where we look backwards 5 years and then we look into the future 5 years, and we can project what our finances are going to look like. And in my opinion, it's the town of Pinetop-Lakeside is a small town. It's something we all treasure. But what I've seen in the few years that I've been uniquely involved with the town is we're trying to take on some big city, big town projects that we're not well funded to do. And so I think that we just have to live within our small town budget. And when we support that economic growth and our revenues improve, then we can spend more money, as our projections show us that we're going to be able to do that. But we always need to maintain a balanced budget, and we always need to maintain a financial reserve, because when that wildfire or something comes through in this town and our police officers are asked to stay here and continue to serve this community while we all evacuate, we need to be able to pay them because they need to get paychecks while they're serving this community. And so I think all of those things are important.
Thank you very much. Harry, the question is to you, sir.
Under no circumstances should we ever come to you and ask for more tax money. Right now, state sales tax is like 5.6%. County is 0.83%. And the transaction privilege tax that the town has is 3%. Now, there's some other aspects to taxes in this town. The given is the state and the county. We have a 3% transaction privilege tax whenever you buy something. We have a 3% bed tax when somebody stays in our hotels, and 2% restaurant and bar. Whenever you go to a restaurant and bar, 2% is added to the 6.43 that the state and the county take. I've heard my colleagues privately talk about raising the tax rate in this town to make revenue. We can't let that happen. We can't let my colleagues let that happen. This is just like home. You have a certain income coming in. You know what you could spend. If you spend more, your credit cards get crazy. So we got to live within our means. We've got a good town manager who's working with the James Vincent Group, and they've got a budget proposal for this coming year, fiscal year, that's got us with a surplus of 5%. We need to look over here so I can see the sign, and we need to just live within our means. We have a cushion. This 5% can be used if there's fluctuating revenue due to tourism or lack of snow or lack of water. Thanks for the extra time.
And Derek,
Okay.
question to you, sir.
We need to have a surplus because we don't know what the weather's going to do. We had a bad winter. So one of the reasons I believe we got into somewhat of a mess is because we planned for something that we didn't have. That means restricting what we spend, promoting business to increase revenue, just be more fiscally responsible than we have been. So.
All right. Thank you very much. And to everybody here in the chamber, we have one more question and then closing statements. So thank you for your patience in being with us this evening. Harry, this last question, you get to start it off with. How would you hold the town manager and leadership team accountable without becoming involved in the day-to-day operations?
We hired a really good town manager, and we also hired a really good financial organization, the James Vincent Group. I've seen Christy in action before she was town manager. I've seen her afterward. She's got the silos of the different department heads disappearing, and she's got them working as a team. When you hire the right person, you don't need to get involved in day-to-day operations. And that's why so much time was spent, and it was such a critical process to go through to hire Christy. I have not seen anything change my mind that she's totally in charge, totally under control. I plan to have an office right around the corner here if you good folks choose to elect me to be your mayor. I want to be available, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be watching over what she's doing on a day-to-day basis. I want to be here so you can find me. I want to be here so that you can come in and talk to your mayor. I have the opportunity to not be distracted and to be able to sit here and talk to you. And I want you to come in. Open door policy. Anything, everything you want to talk about, come see Harry.
Thank you very much. Derek, to you, sir.
I think we have a good town manager. She's approached it with a positive attitude, despite the challenges that the town has faced. I think we as a town council have the ability to review the job they are doing, and if that job isn't well, we can get rid of the town manager. So, but I don't think that's going to happen with Christie. So, that's what I have to say. I think she's doing a great job. I think she has a good head on her shoulders, and I think there's a bright future of the town of Pinetop-Lakeside. I've said nothing other than that, so.
Thank you very much, sir. And Tabor?
So I would agree with the other two folks up here at the dais that I think we did an excellent job in the selection of our town manager. But with that said, I'm a government manager, and I expect that people are going to hold me accountable. They're going to. I've always been told that leadership is about trust, but it's also about verifying that that trust isn't being violated. And so everybody deserves accountability. You cannot just let somebody sit in a position and think they're going to do a good job every day. And so, but I don't think you have to get involved in the daily operations of the town. What I think is important is if you go to our town council meetings now, our financial report is broadcast during the meeting. Every member of this community can see what our finances are looking like. It has a red light, green light next to each budget. You can see if they're trending appropriately. And so I guess what I'm trying to say by that is to use the word transparent. And when I say transparent, I really mean that in being a data-driven organization. And so it's easy to hold people accountable when you see the data. And so when the Public Works report comes out and they say we filled 300 potholes and I can drive through town and see the potholes that they filled, then I know that the organization is being accountable to the residents of this town. And so I think there's a council manager form of government. I will not be in here every day. I have no desire to do that, but I can tell each and every one of you, you can find my cell phone number. I'm certain all of you can find a way to get a hold of me if you want to talk to me. But we have to become a data-driven organization, and that will be the council's metric to measure the success of how this town operates every day.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they all agreed on one thing, that the town manager was doing a great job. So we got that going for us. The rest of the issues is for you to decide. As we had stated in the very beginning, it is time for our 5-minute closing remarks. And as stated as well, Harry, we will start with you. I turn the time to you.
This is where I guess I'm supposed to sell myself to you. And I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep talking about the things I like to do. First of all, I'm very serious about the inclusion of citizens in our decision making. If you were to elect me to be your mayor, I think I need to be visible as I am today, available as I hope to be in the office around the corner. The Coffee with Council is a great opportunity for citizens to talk to the town council. I think that's great. I think we need to continue it. What I'd like to do is have an additional opportunity for you to talk to town leadership. I'd like to have an opportunity as your mayor to have you come in and just informally talk to me. I'm thinking over at the community center, the senior center. I'm thinking once a month, very informal. Harry's going to be at the community center from 9 to 11 on such and such a day. And anything and everything you want to talk to me about, you can talk to me. I'm going to be very easy to find. If I'm not in that office, I'm going to be trying to walk into your businesses. And I'm going to challenge the town council to do that too. If I were to be elected, I'd like to challenge our town councilmen to once a month go into 5 businesses and talk about whatever is on your mind and come back at the next council meeting and report to the public what the conversation is. I don't think your voice is as strong as it needs to be, and I want to strengthen that. So asking that is going to be a lot because a lot of our council folks have jobs or other responsibilities, but if they can't walk into your 5 businesses a month and ask you how things are going and spend 10 minutes with you and then come back and talk with the council and the mayor about it, There needs to be a reevaluation on how you're serving our community. So again, I think we need to be more inclusive. I think the mayor needs to be more available and present. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Derek?
Awesome. I will be happy to serve the town of Pinetop-Lakeside. I will listen to those who have share their thoughts and feelings about what's going on in the town. I'm tickled to death that there were 60 people here today. I think there were more than 60 people, but I counted 60. I've always pushed for community involvement, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Share your opinion with me. I represent the people of the town of Pinetop-Lakeside. I love this town. I think it's a great place for a family. I think it's a great place to visit. I think there's a great place to own a business, and we need to be pro-business, pro-family, pro-tourism. But again, we have the challenges that we face, and I'm glad to be here to help be a voice in those challenges. We have a bright future in this town, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much. And Tabor, wrap it up for us, please, sir.
I want to take a moment to thank the Chamber for hosting this event tonight and for being an advocate for our business community, and to all of you for being a part of this process. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about a forum or an election. It's about the future of our town. You've heard a lot tonight, different ideas, different perspectives, and different approaches to leadership. And now you're being asked to make a decision, not just about who speaks well, but about who you trust to lead, to show up, and to make decisions when it matters most. For me, this campaign has been more than just words. It's been about action. It's been about walking our neighborhoods, knocking on doors, and taking the time to truly understand the community I'm asking to represent. And what I've seen and heard is this: people want stability, people want transparency, and people want to know that their voice matters, even when they're not in the room. That's not too much to ask, and it shouldn't be too much to deliver. I also believe something else is important to say. Leadership, especially in a small town, can't be about assumptions, accusations, and distractions. It has to be about facts, it has to be about respect, and it has to be about staying focused on the work that actually moves this community forward. That's how I've conducted myself throughout this campaign, and that's how I will lead. I also want to be clear about the experience I bring to the role. I currently serve as the Assistant Chief of Operations, where I oversee operations, budgeting, personnel, and coordination across multiple agencies. It's a role that requires leadership, accountability, and the ability to make decisions that impact both our organization and the people we serve. My education, including a master's degree in leadership with an emphasis in Homeland Security, along with my professional experience, has prepared me to manage complex systems, work within budgets, and deliver results. Those are the same skills required to effectively serve as mayor. Public service has never been a distraction for me. It is a foundation. It is where I've learned to lead under pressure, solve real problems, and serve people when it matters most. Because this role isn't theoretical, it's real decisions, real consequences, and real responsibility. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I will tell you this: I will show up, I will listen, and I will do the work. And I will make decisions based on what is right for the long-term future of this town, not what is easiest in the moment. So tonight, I'm asking you for something simple. Give me the opportunity, not blind trust, not unconditional support, an opportunity to lead, the opportunity to earn your confidence through actions, not words. And I'm asking you to hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to showing up, hold me accountable to listening, and hold me accountable to the words I've said here tonight, because that's how this is supposed to work. Leadership is not a one-way conversation. It's a responsibility shared between those elected and those that serve this community. And that responsibility doesn't end on election day. It starts there. When I think about this town, I don't just think about where we are today. I think about where we're headed. A town that's stable, a town that's well managed, a town where people feel heard, a town we're proud to leave to the next generation. I believe we can get there. But it's going to take steady leadership, honest conversations, and a willingness to do the work, even when it's not easy. So I'll leave you with this. If you're looking for someone who promises everything, I'm not your candidate. But if you're looking for someone who's prepared, who will show up, who will listen, and who will do the work, then I'm asking for your vote. Give me the opportunity to earn your trust, and then hold me to it. Because leadership isn't about saying the right things tonight, it's about doing the right things tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike Bosley, for doing this. And I am really, really not happy to be standing up here after listening to this guy talk. Yeah, so my shaky voice is not going to sound as nice as his. I swear he hosts some game shows or something. So. I want to especially thank all of the candidates for coming tonight. I know it's always difficult to come into these things, especially when you come in blind. You don't know who your moderator is going to be. You don't know what your questions are going to be, so you don't get time to prepare. But to keep it fair for everybody, that was the decision that we made, and I appreciate all your patience in it, and I appreciate your coming here. I know that all of us appreciate your being here and answering the questions. There's going to be many more to come, I'm sure, and I know that you guys are up to the test to getting out with our community and giving them the answers that they look forward to hearing. I can't open this up to any questions here, anybody else, because that's the rules of our game. But I do want to say again, thank you to everybody who came tonight. Your time is so valuable. We weren't sure, again, as I said, how many people we would have here tonight, but we filled almost every single seat, and that's fantastic. That is why I'm so proud to be a part of this community. That's why I'm proud to be a part of the Chamber of Commerce. I hope to meet your expectations, Harry, as we go forward with the Chamber and know that we're going to do as many things as we can to support this community, just like I know these candidates all want to. Thank you again so much tonight. I hope that you guys go home and get to have your tacos.
Good job.